comision. What up, everybody? This is El Conquistador back with another video. So, I felt inspired to do a video on the 7 African powers. As you can see in the title. Keeping everything within proper context, because there's going to be, people that disagree in the comments. I totally get it. So within Puerto Rican spiritism, Espiritismo Criollo de Puerto Rico.
These are not any 7 African powers. These are orishas.
And they think of the orishas. The 7 African powers has nothing to do with orishas. That's a sancocho, a mixture between santeria and espiritismo, and the two have nothing to do with each other. They acknowledge each other, but they have nothing to do with each other. In Benin, Togo, Nigeria, Senegal, the Congo, where the slave trade came, the 7 African powers is not a concept, it's not a thing. So it doesn't exist there either. The 7 African powers, I was told, and I have also seen another video where, the 7 African powers represent the 7 tribes that came from the slave trade, or the 7 main tribes that came from the slave trade. I don't have them memorized, but it represents 7 tribes. But there were a lot more than just 7 peoples that came over, more than 7, the Congo, the Dahomey, the Arara, the Fon, the Lukumi, and the countless other tribes. There was more than 7. How that represents the 7 tribes, I don't know how that came about. But if you know more about it than I do, leave it in the comments. I was speaking to a commenter in another video. I don't understand that it just represents the 7 tribes. As far as it pertains to Espiritismo Criollo, if it has nothing to do with orishas and all that, what is the siete potencias Africana? What are the 7 African powers? The 7 African powers. What the 7 African powers is, it is a generalization of a particular comision within one's spiritual frame, within their cuadro espiritual, the spiritual frame. So if you've seen the statue of the Madama, you have a big Madama in the middle, and then you have 7 little other Madamas around her in different colored dresses. One can use that image to represent all of her black women within their spiritual frame, no matter where they come from. It is a way of generalizing all of the black female guias espirituales, spiritual guides that walk with you, all of the muertas that walk with you, whether they be Arara, Lukumi, whether they be you got a Francisca in your cuadro, you got a Tomasa in your cuadro, you got a voodooista, Mambo in your cuadro, you got a hoodoo lady from New Orleans in your cuadro, whether you know their names or not, that one statue or image represents all of the black women within your cuadro, no matter what background they come from, what area of Africa they come from, no matter their background, because you can have an American negra, from the South. That image represents all of the women, the black women, or African lineage of women within your spiritual court. That is it. That has nothing to do with the orisha. But that's what that is, the 7 African powers. The siete potencias Africana, the 7 African powers Africana, the women. You also have the siete potencias africano, which is the same concept, except it's the men. And it's the man in the middle, the Congo in the middle, and then the other little men, the 7 men in the different colors surrounding the main big one in the middle. And that image represents all of the black men, be it a Congo, be it a palero, be it whether a guy was a santero in his lifetime. It doesn't matter. That one image represents all of the black men within your spiritual frame, whether you know them or not, whether you know their names or not, whether you know that you have ata Francisco, ata Jose, ata Felipe, ata Manuel, whatever black man that walks with you is represented as a whole, as a generalized whole of that lineage of guias espirituales. It represents the entire comision that walks with you. There's also the siete potencias de indio, which represents all of the Indians that walk with you. I personally have never seen one with the females, but it represents all of the Indians, you know, the Africana, the siete potencias africana and the siete potencias africano, because they're more popular. They have them separate, men and women. So the Africano represents all the male African spirits that walk with you. I say African muertos, guias espirituales. I don't want people saying that now. That also means Obatala and freaking Tiembla Tierra. The guias espirituales, the muertos that walk with you, Africano. Then the siete potencias africana, all the female African lineage spirits, muertas, that walk with you. The siete potencias de indio represents all of the Indian, the Native American, indigenous, aboriginal, whatever you want to say, that walk with you. So if you do not know that, you don't know the name of your particular Indian spirit that walks with you, well, then you can get the siete potencias de indio, that image, and put that there and smoke it and put a candle or whatever. And that represents all of your Native American spirits, because most people have more than one Madama. Most people have more than one indio that walks with them. So instead of getting one image for your indio, but you know you have 5 indios, you just know you have many indios, or you have a whole tribe of indios walking with you, but you don't know every detail and every name of everyone, you use the siete potencias de indio to represent that entire comision that walks with you of indio, whether you know their names or not. And that's the siete potencias. That's what it represents. It has nothing to do with orisha, has nothing to do with any particular spirits, or guias espirituales or muertos, whatever you want to call them. There's a siete potencias de árabe. I have seen that, you know, that image where it's the Arab spirits, guias, that walk with you. Maybe you don't know their name. You could have more than one that walks with you, and you use that image to represent all of that comision as a whole. That's the main thing you got to take out of this. The siete potencias, as it pertains to Espiritismo Criollo, represents an entire comision as a whole. Be it African women, African men, the Arab spirits, the indios, and by extension, they don't have statues or anything for it, but you could literally make an image for every comision. You could have a siete potencias orientale, because you have Chinese and Japanese and Korean, maybe muertos that walk with you. You could have a siete potencias de marineros, siete potencias de piratas, siete potencia, for people that don't speak Spanish, there's the 7 powers of the sailors, the 7 powers of the Vikings, the 7 powers of the pirates, the 7 powers of the Orientals, the 7 powers of the Arabs, the 7 powers of the Gypsies, the 7 powers of the Hindus, the comision hindu, the 7 powers of the nuns, the 7 powers of the priests. But the only statues that I've ever seen, the images, it's for the indios, the Arabs, the Madamas, and the Congos. But you can literally have a siete potencias for any of the comisiones. So the siete potencias, has nothing to do with the orisha, has nothing to do with any particular spirits. It is a generalized image to represent that entire comision that walks with you. So if you have a Francisca and a Tomasa that walks with you, you can use that image, and that is honoring your Francisca and your Tomasa, because you don't have two separate dolls, muñecas, to represent those two different spirits for the time being, whatever. And maybe you get told later, oh, you have a muerta that looks like this and she's black. You put to the siete potencias africana because it's also honoring her. You're honoring all of the black females in your spiritual court within that comision. If you do not have a Francisca, then putting a siete potencias africana, it honors Francisca. But if you don't have Francisca, if you don't have a Tomasa, it's not going to be honoring her because she does not walk with you. But that image represents all of the black women that walk with you. The siete potencias africano, with all the men running off the top of my head right now. But there's many, many different comisiones. And the siete potencias, there's not an image for every single comision. But what there are images of, if you get the siete potencias de árabe, that represents all of the Arab spirit guides that walk with you. And that's how you honor your Arab. If you don't have a specific doll made or an image made for your particular Arab, you can get the siete potencias árabe, and you service that árabe that you do know that walks with you, and the ones that you don't know that walk with you, by having that image, which represents the conglomerate of all the Arabs that walk with you. So that's what the seven African powers are as it pertains to Puerto Rican spiritism, Espiritismo Criollo. I can't speak on Espiritismo Cruzado. I don't know enough about it, so I'm not going to speak on it. But also the seven African powers, as it does not pertain to Espiritismo Criollo. The seven African powers represent different misterios, and like that's more like Sanse stuff. I don't know enough about that. But even then, it has, within the context of Sanse, the seven African powers has nothing to do with orisha. So if you get anything from this, the seven African powers, number one, has nothing to do with orisha at all within any spiritual practice. That stuff that's like hoodoo and people getting statues, oh, this represents the energy of Obatala, that's one of the seven African powers, Obatala. No. Obatala, that's Ocha, that's Santeria, that's Orisha. There's no seven African powers. Or the seven African powers oil and the seven African powers incense. That's all sancocho porqueria. As far as it pertains to Sanse, the seven African powers represent different misterios, different loases. Still has nothing to do with Ocha and Orisha and Santeria. As it pertains to Espiritismo Criollo for the Puerto Ricans, the seven African powers represent a comision, a court, a generalized, the court of a particular muerto. The siete potencias africana represents all of the black women of all different backgrounds, American, African, Cuban, Puerto Rican, whatever. All the women that walk with you as a whole, your madamas, your congas, the santigueras, the black women. That's the siete potencias africana. The siete potencias africano, the seven African powers of the men, represents all of the black men. Be it Arara, be it Lukumi, be it Congo, be it Haitian, the black men as a whole that walk with you. The siete potencias árabe, the Arab comision as a whole, the Arab court as a whole. The siete potencias de indio represents all of the Native Americans that walk with you as a whole, be it they be from the Caribbean or be it the ones in Canada, whatever walks with you. You can have a whole tribe walking with you. You can have many, many Native American spirits walking with you. You don't know all their names. The siete potencias de indio represents all of them. So that's it, guys. So I just wanted to dispel some, just any inaccuracies as it pertains to Espiritismo Criollo. That whole thing about it being representing 7 different tribes, even then, it still has nothing to do with orishas. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any comments, if anybody disagrees with me, let me know. But I'm talking about from the Puerto Rican perspective, the siete potencias africano, how the siete potencias used to be and still is, but it's been overtaken with the sancocho, that the 7 African powers has anything to do with the orishas. They have nothing to do with each other. And any old school espiritista, boricua, would tell you that. So, yeah, so, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative to you. Leave a like, a dislike, hell, as long as you're interacting, that's all that matters. Thank you for watching. And I do orisha books, so you can learn the orisha songs from home. Give me your email for your own free sample. Any new topics, any new orishas you want me to touch on, any new topics of Espiritismo. I do want to touch more on Espiritismo because I think it's important. I think a lot of good Espiritismo is being lost. A lot of the practices are being lost because everybody's so obsessed with santeria. And then the next thing, everybody's obsessed with hoodoo. But what about traditional Puerto Rican Espiritismo Criollo? I think it would be dope to talk about that. So if anybody has any questions pertaining to Espiritismo Criollo, to Puerto Rican Spiritism, let me know. Today's topic has to do with Espiritismo Criollo, with Puerto Rican Spiritism, Creole Spiritism, 7 African powers. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace out.